Hey everybody, welcome to the latest edition of Take 5, and today I want to talk to you about a concept in investigations known as the open mind, maintaining an open mind. This is critical to any good investigation. It's critical to being fair, to ensuring that your investigations are objective. So what do we mean by an open mind? Well, a lot of you might already be able to guess what that means. An open mind is being open to all perspectives, being willing to gather information from multiple sources, not working towards a preconceived theory or idea to prove that theory. In other words, instead, gathering all the information that's available, reviewing that information, and letting the information or the evidence guide you to the outcome. That's how a good investigation is done. When we go the other way, it can be tragic. When we've all heard stories of people who have ended up, spending time in prison because, the investigation that led to that was a very closed-minded investigation. A suspect was identified and all efforts went into proving that suspect did it, potentially ignoring information that might prove otherwise. And, we've seen this at the investigative level, and, there were many stories where it's been done at the prosecutorial level in criminal cases where, even prosecutors have avoided sharing or disclosing information that might have cast a different outlook on the innocence or guilt of a person. And when I'm doing investigations, a lot of time, complainants or respondents will ask me, well, you're going to prove I'm right. You're going to prove I'm innocent. You're going to prove, and I tell them very clearly that my job is to get to the truth. It isn't about proving that one person's complaint is true. It isn't about proving that the person accused is guilty. It's about getting to the truth, letting the evidence point us to what the truth is. Then once we know what the truth is, then determining whether that truth is a problem. Is it a violation of a standard, a policy, a guideline, whatever the case may be. So, how do we avoid falling into the trap of not having an open mind? Well, one of the ways this happens is, again, by allowing our biases to get in the way. You have to check your bias at the door. Be willing to listen to all perspectives. Don't assume things. Don't consider something to be an obvious truth. Delve into it a little bit. Make sure that this piece of information is a truth. Make sure you've gathered all the information that will answer the questions that need to be answered. We always start when we do an investigation by having an investigation plan. And the first part of that plan is saying, what are the questions that need to be answered? Not, who did it? Not, did this person do it? It's what questions need to be answered to understand the context, the situation, the events that took place. And by answering those questions, we will be in a position to come to a conclusion that's fair, unbiased, and really is going to be the best outcome for any investigation. So, there's other things to think about, when we're doing investigations and we want to maintain an open mind. One of the big ones as well is understanding that a person, won't always present at their best. That while we are judging and we're making assessments of things like credibility and things like that, we have to be willing to understand that, for example, people who've experienced traumatic events, if it's been a traumatic event, how they remember, how they share their information may not be the way you would. Don't assume that because they're not talking to you the way you would talk to someone about this, that, you can't believe what they're saying or that they're not credible or reliable. Give them some latitude around that. And of course, that applies to other things as well. I mean, again, we think about some of the issues that exist around, racism and homophobia and things like that. One of the core pieces to that kind of behavior or that kind of attitude is that, well, this person isn't like me. And, I relate more to the person who's more like me. Those things need to be put aside. Those things need to be suppressed. You can't assume that somebody who's more like you, that you relate to, that looks like you, that has a similar background to you. This is why people get concerned about who's doing their investigation, because they want to know that the person doing the investigation can put that stuff aside and look at the evidence objectively, thoroughly, clearly, and accept it, no matter who is conveying that evidence. So these are all extremely important things that you need to do to make sure that you're open-minded during your investigation, that your investigation is fair, that it's just, and that you're going to come to the right conclusion based on evidence, not proving a theory and gathering evidence to prove it, right? So remember, keep an open mind, check your bias at the door, and I'll see you next time on Take 5.